So even though it says it's starting, it's already started. Hi. You know what I didn't ask you?
What?
How do you want me to introduce you?
Yes. You can introduce me as Laura Rudisell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Laura Rudisell. Okay. And I don't have to do this. We've already created. And then we'll get into more beyond your beautiful name in a moment. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Freedom Friday. And this is Laura Rudisell, and I'm going to talk a little bit about why she's here with me in a moment. I'm so excited about this concept because the eyes. There's so much that we can get into body, mind, and spirit when we talk about the eye and all that it does for us.
Yes.
So especially, I'm going to touch on that briefly, but also when we think about how we see everything in life and everything in the world and our vision, like literally, like how we see, and how that relates to not only everything, and we're going to touch in, that we're experiencing within our own being, but also how we're seeing all of reality and all of life. Because how open and expansive your vision is, or how limited, and we're going to talk about the different reasons why that might happen for us, it's going to shift how you literally take in that information that you are seeing.
Yes.
So the eye in the 5-element consciousness is the window of our liver energy. So it's that portal that connects into everything that our liver energy is about. And the liver is the organ system that is helping us to process stress, frustration, anger, resentment. It's helping us to balance emotion. It's helping us to heal trauma. It's also that's all amazing, right? That's a lot. But the liver in the 5-element consciousness is springtime. So that's a force of creative expression. And when I say that, I mean like whether that's something emotional that needs to be seen, or that's you and your spirit, which I want to tap into in a moment. It has to happen. There's nothing that can stop that.
Yes.
That incredibly expansive, explosive force. So when we think about the connection with spirit, and sometimes people will say the eyes are the windows of the soul. And this will help you kind of connect the dots with what I'm talking about with the liver. The heart is where the soul lies, but the heart is just a reservoir of spirit. And the heart is relying on all these other organ systems and processes to embody that spirit. And one of the most important connections is with the liver, because that organ is like, all right, we're going to take spirit and we're going to take action in life. We're going to express the true spirit. We're going to see all of life through that portal of what our spirit is showing us. So the more flowing and open and connected with spirit that energy is, that's going to shift how you see. When we've had different experiences that create stress and tension and trauma, or we feel like we can't fully express, that tightens and restricts how we see. And then that can create a whole bunch of different experiences in our life versus if we could see the big picture.
Yes.
So important all the time, but especially right now. So I'd like to turn it over to you so Laura is a holistic coach, and you integrate herbalism, and you have a background in psychotherapy.
Yes.
And when she and I had made a connection right before the holidays, and she was like, I have to tell you about brain spotting. And so I went and I looked, I'm like, okay, all right. So immediately I was like, we need to have a conversation. So I would love to hear, a little bit about you and how brain spotting found you, because it always works that way.
It totally does work that way. So, like she said, I do a lot of holistic coach work, but my base is in psychotherapy, and I have fallen in love with herbs for a long time, and so I have been, wild foraging and with plants, and I always felt that they had this connection with me, and specifically my connection with flowers. And so what I am known for is I make my own flower essences, which are vibrational plant remedies that heal specifically the emotional and the spiritual body. And so mixing that with my therapeutic background has been really interesting, because I see clients in a clinical setting and I find that they get really stuck and they have these things. And I've been using flower essences, these plant remedies, to help people get unstuck. And so a huge portion of my work is so much liver energy.
Yeah, I was gonna pause. So when we think about flower, yeah, right? Because the flower's just like, you know what? I don't have her anymore, but I had an amaryllis. Has anyone ever received one of those? Like, it was in a gold wax bulb, so no water, no earth, and that baby bloomed 7 blooms. Like, woo! And then when she was done, she's like, and it wasn't like she was sad. It's just like, I gave it all. That's my purpose. So when you think about the spirit of that.
Yes, it's beautiful. And so, it's really, synchronistic that we came together on this topic. But so I'm in the process of finalizing my licensure, which is a very long journey, as I'm sure you know from your journeys. And in my own therapeutic journey, I have done so many types of therapy, partly because I'm just a deeply curious human and I love to try all the things. But I had just found that these patterns in my life, there were certain things that even though I felt up here that I had worked through, like in my body and in my heart, I was still stuck by them.
Okay. And
that stagnation is the most painful feeling to my character type. I am all about movement. I am a quadruple Sag, so just so much movement. And I had come across a clinician who said that they did something called brain spotting. And at the time, EMDR was very popular. It was kind of the hot thing.
So what, just for our viewers, EMDR, eye movement.
I always get the two, but it's an eye movement therapy, and it's a trauma clearing therapy. And I will get all into the depths of that shortly. But there's this concept that our eyes are linked to our limbic system, and our limbic system is where we hold trauma. So EMDR was very hot, but she was like, I'm doing something called brain spotting, which is also a trauma clearing technique through the limbic system, but it's much simpler. And in my opinion, it's a little bit deeper. That's a hot button topic. So sorry, EMDR people. And I had moments of, trauma that I had been carrying and dealing with for, probably almost a decade. And I did one session with her, I kid you not, maybe 25 minutes. And things that would break me and things that would anger me, I physically could not get to that point of anger after brain spotting. It was like...
You broke the loop.
I broke the loop,
yeah.
Yes. And I was just absolutely fascinated that there was this thing out there that could break these psychological loops that make people feel tormented and stuck. And so I just was like, well, I have to do this. And so I got trained in Colorado with a beautiful, beautiful woman called Pie Fry. Shout out to Pie. And I just fell in love. And so if you're okay, I can kind of walk you through the setup and what it's about. Yeah. And so, like I said, it's a limbic clearing technique. And the premise is where you look affects how you feel. So in my office with clients, what I have them do, just as like a little taste, and you guys are welcome to do this at home, and I encourage you, is next time you feel really activated, you feel really heated about something, whether that be, mad, sad, glad, happy, I want you to just look at a few different spots and notice how you feel. You might look to your left and feel maybe an intensity or a heightening, and you may look to your right and maybe feel a dulling or a numbing. You might look to the floor and you just feel at peace, and you don't know how. And it's this connection that was found that these eye positions tap into the limbic system, and we have these things called brain spots. And there are actually places in our brain, little spots, very, very precise spots that hold our trauma. And so what brain spotting clinicians do is they use a pointer. So I have this big pointer stick. Where's my hand? Okay, there we go. And I hold the pointer in a position. Do you have something I could use in you? Ta-da!
Chopstick.
Perfect. So I hold up a pointer and I get the client talking about what they're really emotional about, what's going on. It can be something in this right now moment. It can be an old pattern. It can be a general sensation. It can just be a feeling of anxiety, a feeling of depression, a feeling of unknowing that makes them uncomfortable. And I just start with presence in their body. And I say, what's going on right now with you inside? Where are you feeling this in your body? And that link to the body helps us find that brain spot because we're getting it into this, we're somaticizing it.
Got it.
And so then the client, I invite them to just hold that feeling in their consciousness and just be present with it. The base of brain spotting is curiosity. And there's no way to do it wrong, and that the client knows best, which I love. And those are kind of tenets to my therapeutic practice, is that you guys are in control. You know, I'm here helping, I'm a support, but I don't know more.
That's what I loved. I started reading it, and first of all, how he discovered using the it was like his own process, but and then discovering that the patients would give feedback, like, nope, that's not it.
Yes.
So then he evolved. He's a very flexible, not surprising for having discovered this technique. He evolved to being able to see where there's parts where you're guiding, and then there's parts where the patient's guiding you.
Yes.
And then it becomes, this cooperative partnership in the healing process. So cool.
That's so well said. And so, you know, I'll have the pointer up and I'll just slowly scan it and have the client's eyes follow me. And what we'll notice is that people, sometimes without even realizing, will have all these autonomic reflexes where they might blink really rapidly, or open their mouth, or yawn, or twitch. And it's not random, because what happens is when we hold our pointer there, and when someone has a fixed gaze on that point, they begin to process right back to that trauma. And what's beautiful is it's their own brain's process. So it's not a clinician saying, okay, well, you got to go 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then you're good. You know, the brain has so many connections that it has its own path.
Yeah.
And so when you do this technique, your brain is following the best path for it. Some people to heal need to go into rage. Some people to heal need to go into peace. Some people to heal need to stop. And you just can never know what that exact trauma needs. Only the client can.
Yeah.
And so we see that this processing happens. And sometimes it's a very somatic, or somatic as in, like, they'll just feel. There'll be no words. There's just feelings. I've had people twitch. I've had people, you know, need to shake it out, like just start shaking.
Yep.
And then some people will just have these crazy revelations. People have been struggling with issues their whole life, and in a session, they'll have a realization that completely shifts their perspective.
Wow.
And so I pretty much use it all the time with clients, because it's so broad. You can use it for anything. You can use it for specific issues. You can use it for general issues. You can use it for trauma. You can use it for performance. The man who created it actually worked on athletes. So it came to be through work with a figure skater. And she was getting stuck in this specific move, and he knew the premise of EMDR. And so he was doing these slow eye movements. And he noticed that when he was rolling his finger, at one point her eyes began to twitch. And he always describes that as like a spirit coming and holding his hand, of like keeping it here. And so he held his hand in that position, and she began to process. And she began to process this block she was having. And after that, she was able to do it. And so he kind of followed that presence, and he did it with his own clients, and he shared it in the therapeutic world, and it's just really taken off. And there are so many people in the indie community who are really getting involved, and you can create kind of your own setups with it. So I'm in the process of working on a setup using my flower essences. So clients will come in, they'll get a pick of flower essence from my magical box. And I typically don't tell them what the flower essence is for. It's kind of like a fun experiment. And so they'll take it, and we'll do the process of brain spotting, and then after they'll share their experience, and then I share what their essence is. And they see, oh my gosh, I can totally see how, you know, I was guided to this, or I picked this, or oh yeah, this, you know, I picked the evening primrose, which is for healing early childhood experience wounds. And it took me to this wound I had with my mother that I've never been able to heal. And then the client would then take that flower essence home and then finish the bottle for the next month to see how their cells shifted along with these realizations we were creating in therapy.
Wow. So I'm curious, because, you know, acupuncture works in a similar way. Now, I don't just do acupuncture. There's a big piece, basically the concept of healing in Chinese medicine is about opening up the loops.
Yes.
Opening up stagnant loops and creating flow.
Yeah.
So it's all about the energy field. So whether
Yeah.
you're using acupuncture needles that are opening the mind, or using herbs, or using healing foods, or using energy exercises, it's all the same concept.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of curious what you see, in your practice. Like, what is the frequency that's needed in order to support opening up that loop? What other things are you encouraging folks to do? Because I know this too. It's like, good, you come here,
Yeah.
and we have this huge breakthrough,
Yes.
and then you go out into the world, and it's like there's all these things that just because we might have cleared it doesn't necessarily mean it's gone. It's like you want to continue to keep that flow going. So from your perspective and your practice, how does that look for you?
That is such a good question and a realization. What I love about brain spotting is that, so those brain spots we talked about in the brain, it's not just being cleared in session. It's kind of an open door after that.
Love
so
it.
People will have a continual processing that doesn't need to be, it's not like an elevator button where each time you want the elevator to go up, you have to click it.
Mm-hmm.
Once that button is clicked, the baby's just going up.
Okay.
And so this processing happens outside. And this is, again, where I use the flower essences to kind of help that support. You know, it adds flower essences, like taking the cells of the flower and putting it with your cells. So you're constantly creating that vibration in yourself day in and day out. So that helps hold the experience. But honestly, what I love, and as you see in Chinese medicine, I'm sure, like, once you get the right flow going, it can continue.
The momentum.
Yeah. And so a lot of it just kind of fixes itself on its own. And another big principle we use in brain spotting is like attunement in relationships. So it really encourages support system and relationship and feeling that deep sense of safety, because often people after brain spotting will feel a sense of vulnerability because they're opening up something that they've been holding for so long.
Okay.
It's been going so deep.
Yeah.
And so people often feel a little bit raw. So like, I find that the more gentle we can be with ourselves in this process, the more nourishment, the more, outside time, the more kind of getting back to our roots, it just creates an easier channel for these things to continue.
Yay. Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. I love that. Attunement is a word I just can't get enough of right now. Yeah, because, the reality is, like, when we have, even like the figure skater, so it's not that what made that stagnation that was showing up in that right now moment as her block in practice.
Yeah.
It's not like it was something that happened just in that movement. It was, it had all these different roots, and no doubt, like, going forward, who knows what else it was connected to in her life.
Yes. That is so, we often find, so in brain spotting, someone might come in, I'm really activated about my sister, and I really want to talk about my sister. And I say, okay, like, let's talk about your sister. And so they, find the place in their body, and we have them activated, and then we, find the brain spot. And what will happen, it's not just either on the brain spot and they'll be like, anyway, so about my sister, this is how I feel. They'll be like, I'm seeing a field in, New Mexico, and I'm on the playground and I just feel really alone. And I say, okay, well, like, let's go with that. And it might be imaginal, it might be real. And they'll say, well, now I see a storm. And I'm like, okay, what do these things symbolize for you? And I remember as a kid just always feeling left out by her. I just always felt like I was alone, and then I would just get so mad. It was like I was in my own storm. And so these things would come together that feel like not related. And I had one client who would just always talk about chess pieces. And it always led them to whatever trauma they were talking about. But each time it would come to a chess piece. And so our brains are so intricately woven, just like you said, in these small connections. And I love that it like perfectly unroots it. It's not, we're not cutting off at the wrong places. We're not opening these channels at the wrong place. The brain is saying, okay, this is the root I need to pull out here.
And the one that needs to be seen is, almost like, the weeds come out.
Yes,
like, this is the one. And you find it, and it's like,
yes. And
let the other flowers come in.
Exactly. So creating space for those good things to flourish, and I always like to call it as like it's making space. Brain spotting is making space. We're in the phase where people are talking about manifestation and intention, and we know that when we're trying to manifest or we have our intention, if it's crowded with all this other stuff, we're not clear. We're not a good channel for it. It's not going to come to be as we would like. But when we create space, that's when these big desires and these big things can come through. And so it's giving space and creating freedom for yourself to get what you want and, to live the life you deserve and we're all meant to have.
So that's so perfect, because right now we just had the new year.
Yes.
We're in the month of January.
Yes.
And we're going to have the lunar new year is February 1st. So it doesn't always happen that tight of an alignment. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more. There's just this real push I'm feeling, and I love that you said that, because I ended up speaking on it yesterday. So when we had that opening, any new beginning is a portal, and we feel all those things. You feel like, oh, I want to set intentions. I feel that push.
Yeah.
So what we come up against is what's there, what's in the way,
what
we need to clear out in order to really manifest in reality those intentions. So those of you who happen to be tuning in, I know you're feeling this right now. More intense. I mean, we always feel this a little bit, but really intensely right now.
Yes.
So part of how I've been able to see it is with the lunar new year, there's a change in the element that is predominant, and there's a change in the animal. So this year, every 2 years, the element changes.
Okay.
And every year the animal changes. We've been in metal element for 2 years. So when you think about, especially as it relates to the work you do, the work I do, what's happening in the world, 2020 was the year of the rat. Metal rat. All right? I mean, it was totally, right? It's like, and everything that COVID brought us, the COVID gift, that rat gift, that mouse gift, was this kind of like, I'm going to rat out what's stuck in here and bring it to the surface.
Yes.
And of course, the rat leaves its own stuff behind. But a big part of what it does is brings things to the surface.
Yeah.
That, it's going to go into places where things have been out of balance and stagnant and bring them more visible. So that was 2020. 2021 was the metal ox. So when you think about what an ox does, that animal is like, bring it on. I am like the strongest creature. I'm so determined. I will go to the moment where I can't go anymore to plow the field, to excavate, to bulldoze, to dredge, whatever you need me to do, put it on my shoulders.
Yes.
So we're the ox. Like at first I was like, I wasn't really excited about the ox energy, but now I have such a deep appreciation for him and everything he's offered. And especially right now, because I really feel almost like he's got his horns in my back. Like, this is it. This is it. Because he's not going to be back for 12 more years.
And I think that's perfect with like being at the end of Capricorn season, which is the sea goat. So they're both pushing you.
They're on the farm. Just come on, guys.
Yes.
So really seize this opportunity to become conscious and aware of what's going on, and whether it's reaching out to Lori, or you may be filling up with people that are like, okay, or looking at other opportunities that might be available. This is a good time to invest in yourself. That's what I'm trying to say. And anything that you are feeling drawn to that could help you with that processing and that clearing. So because on February 1st, it's Water Tiger. So this is a huge shift.
Yes.
Where, like, in a way, what the ox is helping us do is to clear and lay the foundation to be able to tap into all that possibility. So from the concept of shifting elements, metal is an element that really is about clearing. It's our lung and our large intestine. So they're organ systems that take in, receive, and let go, whether it's through the breath or the bowels. Water is a reservoir. Water is the essence of our life force energy. It's our connection to our, all of our inheritance, our bloodline, and even beyond. So through that system, we connect to our infinite abundance at every level. So that's like all there, waiting to be received. And then with that tiger energy.
Yeah, I'm trying to mix those two together.
Oh, it's perfect. It's so beautiful because tigers anyway, it's like, it's that so much power that's embodied.
Yes.
But it's not like you see tigers just running around like,
Yes.
it's like when they use that life force, it is so guided. It is so on purpose with intention. So you're going to have that power, that patience, that presence with that water behind it. So how that manifests in your life, what becomes possible for you. So I'm curious for you. I know you work one-on-one with people. Do you have any group things that are coming up? Or she works over at is it just the Playful Soul, or do you have other spaces where you practice out of?
Yeah, so right now I'm kind of a smorgasbord of locations, so a little bit of everywhere. Yes, I will be teaching some group classes coming in the spring using flower essences and like emotional wellness. That's going to really be my core. And then I'm working on doing brain spotting with couples. So if you have any couples...
I was wondering if you worked with more than groups. Ooh.
Yeah, so really working on, because what we see is these couples who are stuck in these loops. And part of brain spotting is like witnessing. It's being there with someone. And we know so much research with eye gazing in couples and creating that bond, that intimacy. So having that partner take place in some eye gazing while the other is processing, it's really supporting the other do their own work while you're there and you're working on that unit together. So that is something I am kind of dabbling with. I'm going to do some trainings on. So, if you're a couple and you want to do some play with me, like I would really be interested in working together. And then something fun that I love to integrate in all my work is astrology. And I'll be teaching an astrology basics course in the spring.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yay. That's super exciting. And on January 20th, I will be doing an online retreat called Renew, and it's very much about everything we've been talking about. Yeah. So we'll be looking at ways that we can move the body first, because we got to kind of shake things up, and then can dive into a very conscious way that we can take a look at what might be limiting us. And originally, I hadn't really tapped into the fact of how important this month is. Now I'm like super grateful that I set it for the 20th. I'm like, oh, thank God. I had some premonition. I'm like, do it then. And then the third piece will be welcoming in that connection to spirit. So once you've cleared that and opening to, looking at that new year, the bridge to the lunar new year. So good stuff. I'll put the information on how you can connect with Laura and about the retreat I have coming up in the comments. This is awesome. I'm so excited. This is super powerful work. So thank you for joining me today.
Yes. And then I'll have Melissa, there's a really cool institute where I got trained that has a ton of free resources on brain spotting with like intro videos. It's called Rocky Mountain Brain Spotting. And they actually have like sliding scale brain spotting for people if it's not accessible to them to still kind of get in touch with the work. So I'll have her share that link too in case you know anyone you can reach out.
Yeah, definitely.
But thank you so much for having me and giving me a space to talk about this. I always say that, brain spotting is for those people who, they know, you don't even have to know, but you have this feeling or what's sticking you and you're ready to be free. And, if you are willing to do the work and be present with yourself, like you will be rewarded.
Sigh. Thank you, everybody, and enjoy your weekend.